I'm Ashwin Moduga. I head research at the HT Media Group, part of the Tech Circle and VC Circle Mosaic Digital teams. And today we are here to discuss about the evolution of CX in India and how it will proceed in the next 2 to 5 years. We've been doing this for quite some time now. I think this is the fourth or fifth interview in such series. And hopefully today we will add more context and deep dive insight from a fintech standpoint of how CX is evolving over the next 2 to 5 years. We have with us today Ms. Anamika Chatterjee, the head of retail finance for Hero Fincorp. We also have with us Mr. Prashant Kancherla, the Chief Product Officer from Ozonetel. Anamika and Prashant, please, if you can take a couple of minutes to introduce yourself and what you represent today as part of your company and how the last couple of years have been for you from a CX standpoint.
Sure. First of all, good evening, Ashwin. Good evening, Prashant, and good evening to all the listeners and viewers who are listening to us right now. I feel privileged to be invited by HT Media and Mosaic Digital to this interface, where I would be sharing my insights about how CX has been functioning so far and what value add can we as leaders add to this particular line of business in the way CX has been functioning so far, and what is the way ahead of CX for the industry, if we have to talk about. So I will be sharing my insights about that. And if I have to talk about myself, currently I'm working with Hero Fincorp, which is into the lending space. It is an NBFC, and I'm heading their retail customer service. If I talk a little bit about my background, so I have been working in the BFSI domain for more than 15 years. I'm carrying a diverse experience working with the MNCs, the Indian corporates. So I have worked with organizations like American Express, Religare, which again happens to be an NBFC. I've also worked with a lot of startups, which are the fintechs, if we talk about. So brands like ET Money, which is one of the top investing app that we have in today's generation, So on and so forth. So if I talk about my overall experience, I think I have been an in and out service person all throughout, and pain of the customer, concerns of the customer, or let's say, all kind of grievances that the customers come to any organization across any product has been my priority, and I would like to take pride in saying that I eat, sleep, and breathe my customers' issues. So till the time I'm not able to resolve them to my satisfaction, I do not like to sit back. So any problem statement that I can identify, I believe in finding a solution to it. That's how I have actually transitioned my way upward. Over to you, Prashant, if you want to just, share your experience.
Thanks, Anamika. So first of all, my pleasure being here. And Anamika, good to listen to your experience and what you've been doing. Just to quote right, Ashwin, it's very difficult to provide CX to CX leaders, okay? Because they understand CX very, very well. It's a very challenging job. And that's been what I've been doing here at Ozonetel as such for the last 13 years. I'm with Ozonetel for about 13 years. And a brief on my profile as such, I've been in the consulting industry before with BFSI, but not in India as such, but in UK and US. Mostly in the payments industry, and then I moved on to Ozonetel very early phase when the industry wasn't even aware of how cloud technologies work actually, and it has been a very interesting journey. And I've seen all phases of the customer experience here, right from sales, pre-sales to support. I've done end-to-end in all departments. I've headed everything. Now I'm the Chief Product Officer, where my responsibility now is to provide a good and awesome product to enterprises, which is reliable and dependable also at the same time. And one good thing and a challenging thing in this job now is the industry is changing at a much faster and exponential phase than it was in the last 10-12 years. Okay. So in fact, I've learned a lot more in the last 1 year than the last 12 years. So that's been a interesting thing over the last 1 year. So yeah, so that's about me.
Prashant, thank you so much for that. Anamika, to you as well. You really set the context. All right. So, Anamika, you mentioned a very interesting aspect or factor of how you view CX, right? You mentioned that your focus is on pains and grievances, right? And how do
Correct.
you go about solving these? Today, whenever we talk to or speak to CX leaders, the idea is that they are hell bent on the focus related to revenue and expansion. But when you talk about pains and grievances, now these pains and grievances are subjective. Why they are subjective, especially in your domain, is your user could be absolutely from anywhere. They could be in logging in from a tier 4 town. They could also be coming in from the urban area, whereas largely most other industries pretty much know where their customer segment is going to operate from, etc. And so on. Financial inclusion continues to grow in the country, and we will see that this subjectiveness of what someone might feel a pain or grievance is basically cultural. It could be something more deeper. It could be a language related issue barrier. But if you look at the value chain of CX in an organization like Hero Fincorp, for example, right? Because you play in the fintech world, where do you see this value chain panning out? Is it going to be focused on pain and grievances part, or do you think it will also evolve out of that and focus on other things as well?
So, Ashwin, I would like to answer this by breaking the questions that you have put across, right? So, first, taking the cue from Prashant, what he just mentioned, that he has learned the most in the last year as compared to whatever learning he gained through last 5 years. I think post-COVID, this has been the trend with almost all the organizations, because before COVID, most of the organizations, especially in the BFSI segment, they were working as per the offline mode. Their focus was mostly into the processes which dealt around the paperwork and branch-based services. Come COVID and everything stands still, right? It is a sudden check to all the organizations which are operating across the industry, especially in fintech, that how do we go about creating a digital workspace, or let's say a hybrid kind of an ecosystem, because first of all, we have to be let's talk about the customer's pain area later on. But how do I create that kind of ecosystem which empowers or enables my users to give a response to the customer on a timely manner? Because I have a certain turnaround time to give a response to my customer, even if he comes to me for a general query. Let's say it is 5 days. If I don't know how my users will be working from home and resolving that query with the help of technology and the internet, I would not be able to solve the very first and the basic problem. So this is the first step which the organization had to take and counter the issue which got struck due to COVID, sudden COVID calling, Then I think once this hybrid ecosystem got created by all the organization, or let's say multiple organization in lot many ways, comes the digitization. Why? Because when COVID happened, everything came to a standstill, and that was the call when all the industry understood that we have to cut down the geographical distances. We have to bring out a platform which reduces this geographical distance as well as difference, so that it gives an enabling power to the user across all the country, whether it is a tier 3 city, tier 4 city, or an urban city or an urban user, they can all get onto a same platform and use the same to report or raise a concern that they would have regarding the product or the service. So step by step, we were progressing ahead, Now, when you talk about creating this hybrid ecospace along with digitization, is when you start building your processes around it. because there are a lot of challenges which comes when you talk about giving customer experience. It sounds very hunky-dory. I would talk about some 20 years back when customer service used to be the word when we used to talk about giving service to any customer, that we have to give customer service. We have to do service to the customer. But even at that point of time, it was not I would say, the primary element of any organization to focus on. It used to be working in one of the silo or corner of the offices, where a team of 4 or 5 members would be focusing on what the customer is trying to say, and they would try to service. Service means something that the customer is coming to me with, and then I'm trying to deliver as per his expectation. Some sort of process management is happening over there. I think a decade back is when we actually transformed from this statement of customer service and started using this word as customer experience. Because as an organization, we started evolving. Internet started being used very rampantly by all the organization and different segment of the users. And that is the time when organizations started focusing a little bit on creating that experience and not just by giving a service, And when we talk about experience, again, as you rightly mentioned, Ashwin, revenue is the first point which comes to any organization's mind, What is the ROI that I'm going to get if I have to implement any kind of technology, any kind of system, so that I give that experience to the customer? And back then, I think 10 years back, it was quite cost intensive, I would say. Right now, we have plethora of options in terms of technology and AI and generative AI and automations being in place in the ecosystem. So things have become a little better, I would say a lot better. But just to address this point of yours, even today, there are multiple organizations which are there who believe that customer experience department is actually the cost center and not the revenue center. I don't even want to get into a revenue center or a profit center kind of a model, So I happened to speak to one of the founders of an organization in Fintech. I met him during one of my CX events, which happened I think first week of November, So I was just discussing this point only, that how does he see customer experience department in his organization? And I think after many years, Ashwin, to be very honest, I heard this thing that he said that, Anamika, I think that customer experience team is the heart and soul of the organization. And I was super thrilled, because every time as CX leader, if I have to implement any kind of software for enabling my experience, if I have to implement any kind of technology or any kind of tool into the system so that my customers get a better experience, I have to justify that cost. I'm not talking about Hero as an organization. I am representing almost all the CX leaders that we have in the industry across all the products and all the service industry, They would have to go through a rigorous process of justification and taking approval and explaining that why is it important. Because the first question that the leader, the business leader or the leader of the organization would ask is that, what is the ROI? Okay, let's say that I invest X. What are you giving in return and by when? Right? So the CX leader would have to put a timeline to it, that okay, I'll give you in 3 months, or let's say the revenue will start flowing in, or the experience will start flowing in from X month if you put this much of revenue, or if the capex goes here, then the opex will be this, and this is how you will be getting in return in X number of months. This is how the conversation flows, when these kind of things happen. But this is a sad reality, I would say, because it is very disheartening to see that a unit which is supposed to create an experience in the customer's mind is not actually considered the heart and soul of the organization. And I think that I would want to create or change that narrative. When I'm getting this kind of platform, I would definitely want to transform that narrative from being a cost center to being the most important unit of any organization. And I'll tell you why. See, Ashwin, it's very simple. Let's take an example that you visit to a retail outlet, which is a clothing outlet. Okay. So you have these fancy advertisement which says that get 50% discount or buy two and get 60% discount. All these marketing gimmicks are there, or let's say the influencing ads are there, advertisements are there, right? You walk into this outlet and there you have somebody who's attending to you. Okay, that okay, sir, this is what you get and this is what the price you pay and everything. Okay, and you find it a good deal and you close that deal. You take the item, and later on you find some kind of issue or some kind of flaw in that item. Let's say there is a wear and tear kind of thing. You find that there's a hole in the dress, or after one wash the quality gets deteriorated. So now you have to go back to the retail outlet. What happens if they stop entertaining you and they say that sir, you bought it and we gave you a discount, so there is nothing that we can do about it? Would you feel good about it? Or would any one of us feel good about it? I guess no one, right? And what if they say that, okay, I can just refund you, but I will refund you just 20% of the purchase value, and because it's just a small damage, so you just live with it. But you know what? As a service gesture, I'm giving you a 20% refund. Now, okay, to your satisfaction, maybe you got a refund, but do you think that you would ever go to that particular brand to purchase another item?
Yeah.
No, right? So I think I will also share a similar kind of experience. So what happens in such experiences, that as a customer, because I did not get the service that I had in mind or I had an expectation, first, I will not visit that store. Second, by word of mouth, I will be a detractor for that brand. I will talk to every person that I meet, and I would ensure that I tell them that, you know what, I purchased 2 dresses from this outlet and they gave me a 60% discount. Yes, they are good in the discounts, but never buy from them, because one wash and the color goes away. And you know what, when you go back to them, they'll just give you a 10% or a 20% refund and they'll do nothing about it. So do you think that this brand will flourish? No. And why is it happening? Because they failed giving the service that was expected as per the customer. Right? So I just try to create this example out of my mind just to explain the essence of customer service or the experience. Service is there. He is entertaining me as a customer. He is also trying to give me a refund. But was he able to create that experience? He did create an experience, but a better one in my mind as a customer, right? And that is something that we cannot afford to, because in today's ecosystem, Ashwin, to be very honest, things have become very competitive, very, very fast paced and very agile. So if the organization and the processes are not agile enough, they'll not be able to sustain themselves or set their footmark. They'll be failing miserably. So I think that will be my submission when it comes to organizations who feel that why do we not get revenue out of whatever the CX leaders are proposing or implementations are being done. So my straight answer to them would be that if there is no customer experience team in the organization, be ready to set yourself for failure. And this is my message out to all the organizations, whether it is in fintech or in BFSI, whether it is in real estate, whether it is in FMCG, any organization, because as consumers, as customers, we are buying product from all across the industry. I will be buying a medicine, I will be buying a flight ticket, I will be booking a hotel, I would be going to a food chain and buying food from there. So everywhere it is service, and if I don't get service, it creates a negative impression in my mind. I hope I've been able to answer
No, you've been extremely detailed. I just want to do a very quick follow-up on whatever you spoke about. Now, you spoke about multiple things, and I want to go to Prashant also in a bit to understand some of the things that you've said and how technology is going to enable them. But for you, Anamika, now you said that any organization without CX team is going to set themselves up for probably failure. But what I want to understand from you is, now you have set up a team there is a CX function.
Mm-hmm.
Largely, people know what needs to be done. They have a blueprint. But for you as a CX leader, let us say you have the business leaders that you need to manage. You have the CFO's office that you need to ensure that they are playing by your side. You have the customers that cannot see a visual aberrant in terms of the processes that you're changing. And then you have your technology partners where they're helping you understand all of this data and turn it into meaningful insight for you to action. These four sets, you need to keep balancing them as a CX leader. Which do you think is the biggest roadblock that other CX leaders should be aware of?
Very interesting question, Ashwin. I think they should be very cognizant about the tool or the software that they want to implement. I'll tell you why. Because today the customer are spoiled by choices, and so are the organizations, right? So if I have Ozonetel as one of the partner who's providing me, let's say XYZ services, I also have somebody at par with Ozonetel. So whenever I go to any of these CX events, I'm bombarded with these companies who are trying to pitch their product or service, saying that, okay, this would be beneficial for your line of services. Why don't you try our service for this or for that? Let's say for telephony, for automation in your IVR, for email bot, or any kind of other automations we're talking about, As a CX leader, me or anybody else should be very, very judicious and cognizant about which technology will be working best for my process, because it is not something that one size fits all, right? We've been talking about AI, we've been talking about generative AI, we've been talking about bots, automation. Do I actually need all of these? Is the first question that I as a CX leader need to ask myself, looking at the processes that I handle. Very quick example. The food aggregators that we have, let's take an example of Zomato or Swiggy. Who are the customers? Mostly urban set of customers, right? Because they want to order food. So you will not find a tier 4 or a tier 5 customer ordering through Swiggy and Zomato. And that's the reason they have not even, spread their wings out to those zones, which are like very, very interior or let's say not even a tier 4 city, right? They're focusing more on the urban city. Why? Because the demand over here is like that, right? So their processes and their tools will be very different to what we as a lending in organization will be implementing, because I am catering to a tier 4 and a tier 5 customer. If somebody says that, so if you see Swiggy's processes, you would see very less human intervention over there. Everything is given to you in facts, as in the questions and the sub-question. Most of the categories and the kind of concerns are catered through the bots. Very unlikely you will see a situation where you actually have to get into a situation where you need a human call, or you would want to speak to somebody else, human, But when you when you come to processes like any BFSI processes, whether it is insurance, whether it is a lending industry, whether it is credit card, you cannot say that I'll give all my queries only through automation, because if you start doing that, you will be leading to a lot of escalations. Why? Because the people who are using the financial services are not urban customers only. Right? We have people who would be calling me from, let's say, Lakhisarai, which happens to be in some interior parts of Bihar, right? Or let's say some Lakhimpuri in some interior parts in UP. I don't even know what's their understanding or intellect when it comes to usage of WhatsApp. So if I have to define my processes on WhatsApp, and if I think that 100% automating it through WhatsApp will be working for every set of customer, I will be setting up wrong expectation, and I will be devising a wrong process, an incorrect process, which I can show it to my management. I'm just talking about the generalized CX leader that, okay, yes, I have done this kind of automation. This is what the tool I have implemented. This is what the strategy I have built. But when it comes to actual implementation and getting the outcome, it will be a failure. Why? Because my target user is very, very different. So as a CX leader, I think this is something to watch out for, because if I'm sorted there, if I'm very clear what strategy I have to build using which kind of technology and tool, I'll be very easily able to convince my management. And if my business leader is convinced, I don't see a challenge in managing the CFO's office, because they are just the partner who would be facilitating the payout, right? So once my business is convinced, my CFO office will be convinced, and my customers, why am I doing this? So that I can create that positive and better experience for my customers, right? So if I am sorted in terms of my technology and tools, I think all my avenues will be taken care of.
Got it. Got it, Anamika. Prashant, sorry to have kept you out for so long. Anamika and I have been going at it continuously for the last 20 minutes, but almost all of the points that she's raised and she's spoken about are extremely pertinent. We do not get into such long discussions unless they are engaging in the form or means or the outcomes that she's been proposing. Prashant, the onus seems to be on you. The summary of the discussion is that someone who's going to be managing CX and not just looking at it as a revenue or a cost center, but something that provides the center of heartbeat protocols for a company with the customer. All of them will look at customization, which is extremely important. But more importantly, in the coming years, how are you orchestrating the right data to the right place so that you can take the right decision? Most importantly, all this orchestration done by a tool, a technology, it could be AI, it could be RPA, automation, whatever it is it being measured for the right outcome, right? Is it continuously evolving? Is the summary or core of discussion. Prashant, from your side, now you've been experimenting with both generative AI and automation related techniques, and one of your USPs has been related to how you customize your learning language models, etc., with the data of each of your customers that you work with. I know this because I've seen some of your solutions at work, etc., and so on. Now, my question to you, Prashant, is how do you keep deep diving and differentiating yourself as a company? Because Anamika mentioned that features are something that absolutely everybody uses. The only area where you need to be relevant is customization, the right orchestration, and meaningful measurement of outcomes. How do you look at these three things? What are you doing with your customers, Prashant? Maybe if you can maybe quote a couple of examples, that will be great as well.
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, very interesting insights, Anamika. So one observation there, being a technology player, right? While we deal with current market conditions, which, like Anamika rightly said, budgets is an issue still with CX industry. It goes through a very big cycle of approvals and all that, right? What we are also seeing is in some of the organizations, they haven't taken a verticalized approach of marketing as a silo and delivery as a silo. In finance industry, delivery could be maybe a loan processing and disbursement, right? Then post delivery, then there is customer service, or now I think some of them just call the customer service department as customer experience. But what we are seeing in the industry is a lot of companies are moving this into a horizontal, where customer experience starts with the first interaction you have with a prospect. It's not a customer, it's a prospect. So how you project your company right from when you market, it could be a digital ad, it could just be an SMS or WhatsApp message sent, or it could be an email as well. Okay. From then onwards, till as long as the customer stays with this company, how are you projecting your brand and how the customer experiences your brand is how some of these companies are looking at. And being a technology player, right, for us it's very interesting because we started servicing CX as one silo of customer service alone, okay, which caters to still the current day requirements of a lot of customers. Okay, so if we cater customer experience just in the customer service department, it's good. Like can you automate, do bots? Like it depends on their target customers, like how Anamika rightly pointed out. But we have some customers, especially in the banking industry, who cater to tier 2, 3 towns. Okay. Now, there the customer experience has changed because obviously those customers are not digitally educated yet. They They use Facebook, WhatsApp, but they don't know how to interact with businesses as much as you like it to. Okay. But what they do is they do calls though. Okay. And the way we've automated it is the bot speaks in Bhojpuri and the local dialect as well. Okay. And they have certain simple queries like, and it's the same with urban or rural crowd. It's always about account balances, especially if you take finance industry, right? When do I pay my loan? What is how much loan is pending? How much amount is pending in terms of loan balance, right? About what amount should I pay back? When is my payment due date coming up? These kind of questions. Those are common questions which we could automate. Okay, but we did it on voice instead of a bot, instead of a chat bot or anything, because it depends on the target customer and how the need has to be. So it can't be one channel anymore. It has to be across channels when you automate something, because each business can have their own variety. Like some customers need across channels. It will be voice as well as all digital channels, because their customers are both urban and rural. Okay. Like HDFC Bank is one of the largest customers for us. Okay. Where we do this. Now, in their case, they have clients in all the metros to the tier 4 and tier 5 towns as well. Okay. So their one channel kind of a strategy never works for them in the scale space. So that's one biggest trend that we see, that Ashwin, you and me talked a lot about omnichannel, right? So it's more to do with which customer needs what channels. But from a futuristic point of view, right, what we're seeing is CX is no more a cost center, at least from some of the leaders who are trying to change this. Right? And the strategy is not driven by just one department anymore. It is a top-down strategy where CX is adopted across all departments, right from marketing to support. Because without that, and unless you show a unified brand, right, where the marketing team speaks the same language when trying to get the customer into a lead and convert into a sale, the sales guy is trying to convert them. They speak the same language, but the promise has to be met backwards again from support. Like from the example which Anamika quoted about the discounts, right? While the discounts is what the marketing department is doing to lure the customer and get a purchase done, the quality cannot go down. That's the delivery department, but the post service is where the support is coming in. Now, unless you have CX across, it's not going to go through. And the lifetime value of the customer would just drop if CX drops in any of these departments. Okay. So if marketing doesn't do good CX, right, then the lead doesn't come in at all. If sales doesn't do good CX, the sale doesn't happen. And if you don't do post sale support, the customer is never going to come and purchase something else. So something interesting, in fact, yesterday I was discussing with one of our customers who is a startup fintech. Unfortunately, I can't take the name. The challenge there was this was a collections head, and while the sale has happened, marketing did their job, the lead came in, they did a sale, which is loan disbursement of a home loan. They have a huge challenge in the collection space. Okay. Now the same guy is also given a target to do cross-sell and upsell to the same set of customers. Okay. So he had an interesting challenge where while you're trying to collect money from the user for the loans which have already been disbursed, you're also trying to do an upsell to different customers for other kind of insurance policies and other small term loans. Okay. Because there's a festive season coming up in terms of Christmas, New Year, then Sankranti, Pongal in different regions. They're trying to promote different offers to the existing customers themselves. Okay. So while doing this, in terms of CX, right, the challenge is not just technology as such, it is also about how you message it, right? On one side, collections department should ensure their targets are met and customer pays on time. The other guy who's trying to do cross-sell and upsell has to give a message where he gets an additional sale from the same customer. Okay. Now, this can be driven only with technology. While the messaging is the business side, technology helps them because while the guy who is doing a cross sell, right, he is able to see what the collections guy did with this customer. Is a customer 3 months behind in payments, or is he just, it's a one-off thing where he didn't pay just this month, but he's paid over the last 7 years? Okay. Now that intelligence can be driven only with a technology adoption where our AI system tells them this is a customer with high probability of a sale versus this customer, there's only 10% chance of a cross sell or upsell. So this is how we are seeing the trends. But what we are looking at right now, it's no more a siloed department wise thing. It's across the organization. So organization and customer is the department now. It's no more marketing or sales or support from how we see the technology getting adopted.
Absolutely, Prashant. My favorite thing is that CX is all about seamless contextualization. You cannot literally be one function anymore. You have to understand from the customer's viewpoint of what is happening in and around your company. And I always quote an example to most of my audiences. I do this a lot physically as well, and not just virtually. My favorite example has been that when my mom calls, once in a couple of days, I don't need to set any context. I can begin
Oh,
off.
I remember.
Uh,
I
uh,
remember this when
Right.
you spoke
Yeah,
about it last
yeah, right there, right? Because this
time.
is, that's how seamless your communication is with your family members and
Yes.
people that you love. And every time someone is concerned about, let us say, a bank knowing too much of your data, security concerns, privacy concerns, I always ask them this question: during a CX interaction, do you believe your bank knows you well enough? Always the answer is no, right? Because it is jarring, the seamlessness is not appearing, the AI is not functioning well enough in order to ensure that particular customer rep is knowing about something else or some other interaction that was done with the customer. I think that's what, Prashant, you've summarized from an Ozonetel standpoint. We've close to finished around 45 minutes discussing just one part of our theme, and we have just an hour in hand, 15 minutes more. So I'd like to quickly go through some brief sort of short fireside questions with each of you. Anamika, from your standpoint, right, what are the measurements changing? CSAT was one of the biggest things previously, right? How is CX being measured now? I hear about lifetime value, life cycle value, etc.
Yeah.
How do you believe the measurement of CX will change in organizations in the next 2 years?
So, Ashwin, I think that what Prashant just mentioned about the CLV and leads or the quality of leads, marketing or any other department cannot be working in silos, measuring their own KPIs and delivering on their targets, right? And so can CX also not operate like that as one single unit. It has to be a unified approach. While we have been talking about omni-channel platform, it is actually an enabler for any department, let's say a CX department, where I have all the consoles in one place, whether it is WhatsApp or a bot or a telephony or an email or even a social media handle. I have everything on one platform where the user, who is the end user, who's getting to understand that this particular customer is calling or writing, he knows the whereabouts of the customer and he can just see the history. And what you just mentioned, that setting a context would not be a challenge from that perspective, because I know that he once came to me through telephony and this time he's writing to me on a Facebook handle, so I can just relate and stitch it together and then start my conversation accordingly. So one is that unified way of working with the help of omni-channel platform. That is one thing. Second thing, a collaborative approach between the departments, whether it's marketing, sales, or CX, because to me, I think in the next 2 to 5 years, every organization must be, defining some KPIs in relation to CX within these departments. So marketing cannot be operating just delivering on the KPIs for their own department. They have to take accountability of what quality of leads are they delivering. Their target should not be that, okay, every day I have to get 100 leads onto this platform. There has to be a performance measurement around that. If 100 leads are brought to this platform, at least 70 of them are quality leads, because only 70 leads will qualify for the next process and the salesperson will try to convert them, final funnel. will be, let's say, 10 to 15%. But if you don't have a decent quality of leads starting at the starting point of the funnel, the end funnel will not give you the output that you're actually desiring. So even for the sales, I cannot just go and say that, okay, X number of people have actually been converted. Let's say that I got 50 leads today and I've been able to convert 30 leads, whether any kind of product, whether it is a sale of ticket or a disbursal of loan, anything. Because once I am not aware about the customer profiling, let's say specifically for the lending industry, while he talked about the collection department, Prashant talked about collection department not being able to collect. Why is this happening? Because somewhere down the line, the profiling of the customer has not been read or understood properly. Or let's say the underwriting has been not done correctly, because of which the disbursal has happened to those customers whom we should not have actually disbursed. Hence, it is leading to difficulty in collection, right? And maybe lead to an NPA also. So if we as an organization do not define matrices which actually belong to customer experience team to all other departments, this delivering of experience will be a half-baked process for any organization. And in next 2 to 5 years, any organization who doesn't do that will be facing difficult times in sustaining itself in the ecosystem. Because I'll give you a classic example of one of the investment organization. We have seen, we all know Zerodha is one of the platform for investments, right? And it has been the unicorn all throughout. We also know that there is another platform called Grow, right? Very recently, Grow has actually surpassed Zerodha and has become the unicorn. Grow started quite late than Zerodha, and Zerodha has been a unicorn for more than 5 years, and Grow just happened to surpass its performance this year, in the year 2023. How did that happen? Did Zerodha do something wrong, or Grow actually did something exceptionally well? Could be either of the two, right? The point I'm trying to make over here, that at no point of time can any of the organization in today's ecosystem become complacent because of their success or their accomplishments. If I am, let's say, the who's who of the industry, right? I am the unicorn in my industry. I cannot take it to my stride saying that, okay, nobody can beat me. Because tomorrow somebody else will come with better technology, with better strategy, and they will be able to acquire more market share or hold more market share because I became complacent and I was very okay in the position that I had. So they might be doing something which I just proposed, that, okay, my marketing department will have 2 KRIs which actually belong to CX. My sales department will have 3 KRIs which actually belong to CX. And through this, maybe they will be able to deliver a better outcome when it comes to customer experience. And today I also want to, change another narrative which I have been trying to create through all my seminars, that it's high time that we stop talking about customer experience and we start talking about total experience, TX. TX should be the new word that I would want to introduce to this forum, and I would want all the people to carry it forward and share it with everybody. With total experience, I would mean that the customer, if comes to me, he should not be thinking twice about coming to me again. So the CLV remains intact, customer lifetime value, that customer stickiness. I don't have to worry too much, because as a business, I know that the cost of acquisition is way too higher than the cost of retention. So if my CLV is intact by virtue of doing all of these things which I just proposed, I think TX will be a very, very easy thing to deliver in the coming years. And I don't think so it should be a difficulty in any of the organization to adapt to this culture. Why? Because almost all the organizations are using technology in their respective processes. They are trying to bring about generative AI in as many processes as possible. Tools are already there. Omni-channel platforms are already there. So what next? It is the implementation of these strategies, which will bring out or make a difference in the way we are operating and in the kind of market share that we hold as an organization. So I think this is what I would want to talk. And, we are still operating with the contact center model. Why? Because till date, I would want to quote this number, that more than 70% of the users want to get to a human voice when it comes to resolving their pain areas, right? Because too much of automation does not give relief to your pain area. I might not have time to talk to a person, but when I I'm not getting any relief to the concern that I've raised, then I will actually not go through the automated processes that you have defined for me. And I would rather want to navigate through all your, processes, or let's say the IVR options that you've given me. And I would want to reach out to the human voice. But with the times moving, the processes have become so agile. The strategies are changing on a daily basis. And I think the industry and the organizations are trying to evolve more towards the omnichannel platform, more towards the bot-based processes, while balancing human element with the technology will be the key thing, because I cannot automate 100% of my processes, because that will be again taking my process or my experience back. So one classic example of one of the non-PSU bank that we have, it is the largest non-PSU bank in the country, and they have automated their IVR to the tune of 100%. You will spend at least 10 to 15 minutes to navigate through their IVR tree, and you'll yet not be able to reach to any human voice. They have automated to this extent. So I don't want to quote the name because they're the largest PSU in the country, non-PSU in the country. However, I as a customer do not like banking with them, although I have an account with them. But I like to bank with the second largest non-PSU bank in the country, and I use their services almost daily. But the first one with which I hold an account, that account is lying dormant for like 5 years. And why is it dormant for 5 years? Because I face too much of technical challenge, or let's say difficulty, in navigating through their IVR and reaching out to the human. And if I am not able to do that, they will just be routing me to the branch-based services, which I am again not okay with. So let's say this is the largest non-PSU bank in the country, but does that make you so complacent that you're not even thinking about the experience that you're delivering to the customer? I think a second thought should be given to it. So I think I would want to share my submission over here, and over to you, Ashwin.
Sure. Thank you. I mean, sometimes I basically try and summarize and put forward the question to the other speaker, but just taking notes from whatever you spoke about, the onus again is that, Prashant, that you have to continually balance this manual versus automated interventions across processes, right? And I think, seen, at least I have seen huge examples of solutions like generative AI being implemented to strike the right balance between manual versus automated interventions. How does your roadmap of innovation look like, Prashant, in this context? What should we expect as users and CX leaders like Anamika from companies like Ozonetel in terms of what is it that you will bring out in the next 2 to 5 years? How are you going to ensure that something as important as generative AI does not get into a self-indulgence mode and be able to build actual usable, actionable use cases for the industry?
So, Anamika has been spot on in one thing, though. It can never be 100% automated, especially when it is the customer on the other side. Okay. While we use AI, generative AI, bots, whatever you want to call it, you cannot automate, and the human as a backup is always needed. Okay. That is not going to go away even in the next 10 years. Okay. Forget next 3, even next 10 years, human as a person who talks with customers is going to remain. That's not going to go away. But what's going to change, Ashwin, from what we are saying is, when we talk of AI, right, AI can be used to better your customer experience. Okay, it's more an enabler than actually removing the human part of it. Okay, while the same agent is talking to the customer, right, if the AI gives you an index saying this customer has been angry in the last 7 calls, okay, how this agent treats that call is very, very different. Okay, versus if the organization can tell us these are my best senior people who can talk to a customer, for example. Okay, and if I know based on my past sentiment index that this customer has been very, very disappointed and angry with the organization, we will route it to the best possible agent. Okay, so that's where we use AI more than actually in automating the entire interaction with the customer. Okay, so our take has been that it is more an enabler. Okay, in one to the people who talk to the customer itself, See, it's people who will make customer experience better ultimately. Okay. So the entire AI part is only an enabler where you give better data points, better inputs on how you can speak with those customers. Okay. With anybody who is calling in. Now, the other pieces we are plugging in is even for marketing teams, right? Which customer has the highest probability of conversion? That depends on the customer happiness index. Okay. So you call it CSAT, NPS, whatever you want to call it, right? Your best possible customers who will convert in terms of a cross sell upsell also, right? Is always the customers who are very happy with you, and they are the ones who will also provide referrals. Okay. Obviously, the negative feedback comes from the customers who are very negative on the company. Possibly could be one of bad experience which happened, but they are the ones who will say this company doesn't do well in terms of service. Okay. Now, how you deal with this in terms of interacting post sale or post conversion process, right? Again, post conversion is just the starting point because this is a lifetime interaction which the business has, right? So that's where we are using a lot of generative AI and see, it's not just we as a vendor, every vendor is trying to do this, but everybody has a different take on how you combine data points and provide the input, right? So we have our own way. We also depend on the CDP, the CRM platforms where the customer data is stored. So we don't expose that to generative AI. I think I told you some time back, right? You can use generative AI only to a certain extent. After that, it has to be something internal where data exposure also is a big challenge right now to AI systems. So we use something internal for that, and then use a mix of chat GPT AI component to give a better input to the people who are talking to these customers. Okay. Like one example, Big Basket has been a very long term customer for us. Okay, since 2011, their entire CX runs on Ozonetel, and interestingly, last 1 year, what we've done is every day we give out a report to the CX head that these are the 5 business issues which were most spoken about in the contact center today. Whether it's chat or voice doesn't matter. The channels don't matter, but these are the top 5 problems which were spoken about. Okay. The next day, their business head and the ops head sit together and actually solve those 5 problems which are there. And what we have seen is over the last 1 year, their repetitive order index has gone up by 10% more. Since they started this project and how the problems are being solved. So the order values have gone up. Also, customer life value has gone up. Okay, so there are more customers doing repetitive orders, so lesser problems in operations. That has improved. So, like I said again, it's a holistic thing. It's not just that when a customer talks, there is a CX experience that you can create. You can use AI in a lot of ways to create this good CX experience for the customer. Okay, and of course it results in revenue, but the business heads should be confident enough and should put in a process where they get the benefits out of it. Okay.
Yeah, I think, to summarize again, Prashant, the idea is simple, right? Like you said, you can never automate 100%, like Anamika mentioned also. It is the same with someone like you. You cannot simply build a platform and say that customers should be able to use it. You'll have to sit and define the customization to each of your customers, being in this case that single report that you send out to the CX leader for that particular day. Hopefully, we will see more such innovations. We will understandably draw out conclusions based on the outcomes that each of us wants to generate from a CX standpoint. Every week, I attend a CX meeting where 4 or 6 of different team leaders come in and input multiple different thoughts for bettering CX in our organization. End of day, all of that needs to be supported by science, needs to be sort of supported by enough data points, needs to have enablers like AI or predictive analytics or whatever. And we will see that all of these will continue to evolve in the next 3 to 5 years. We will see a new world where CX will probably become seamless slowly, or at least will make an effort to become seamless from a customer standpoint. I really do hope, I really hope that we had more time, but unfortunately, almost past the 1 hour that we were scheduled for, which might not be very, very difficult for us because we are just speaking, but my editors have a very tough job. Every time it is more than half an hour of recording. They have to sit and continuously edit this out. But thank you for both of your time today. And hopefully our audiences will learn something or learn something new in terms of everything that we've spoken to. Thank you so much, Anamika. Thank you so much, Prashant. Both of you. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you so much, Ashwin. Thanks, Prashant. Bye.